Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Volley Rally. Today, joined by Liza once again in this three-part little sales BDC tips and tricks. And today, she wanted to hop on and talk about the life cycle of a lead and things that you need to keep in mind there. So, Liza, I'm going to turn this right over to you. And what do you have to talk about?
Sounds great. I wanted to talk about monitoring your campaigns, monitoring those workflows. How do I know whether or not they're working? We have a lot of accounts that come into Volley, right? And maybe prior to Volley, they made a smaller number of attempts because the team couldn't get through 10 phone calls on new leads. They could only get through 6. So we started out with the 6 attempts on new leads. Boom, we introduced Volley. All of a sudden, your team is working a lot more efficiently. Now we're making 10 phone calls, and we want to decide, should we expand that even further? Should we be making 15 phone calls on our new leads? How do I know? How do I know if my attempts are worth it? Is my team getting through those attempts? What can I do to evaluate that? So I have one screen pulled up here. Off the cuff, I will recommend grab your CS rep to help you dig into this. There's a couple of different tools that we can utilize. I'm only going to cover one of them today, but there's a couple of different places that we can go to answer these questions, to help you strategize. Should you add? Should you scale back? But I'm going to start you off with one screen that you can look at on your own. I am drilled in right now. I'm on campaign attempt management, which is on your management menu. On the left-hand menu, it's the campaign attempt management. And I've clicked into one of my campaigns. Right now, I'm looking at my lease retention campaign. This campaign is only set up for a couple of attempts. And I want to look at, is my team getting through these lease calls? Because I know maybe this isn't my highest priority campaign, and I'm trying to decide, should I have multiple attempts on this campaign, or should I actually only make one phone call, and then should I lean more heavily into emails or text messages? Because really, I want my team to focus on leads, for example. So I'm coming to campaign attempt management to see how deep in that workflow are my reps getting. Right away at the top, I can see how I have this list prioritized. So even if lease retention is a lower priority campaign, once my team starts picking off the lease retention, once we get to this queue, how is Volley determining which records to serve up first? In this case, I have my attempt order set lowest to highest, meaning all of my customers in the list should be called once before I start calling anyone a second time or a third time, etc. Get through the entire list once before we start making a second pass. Next, I have added order. In this case, for my lease retention, I have it set to first in, first out. Think first come, first serve. So my oldest leads are going to be the ones that are served up to my team first. For lease retention, maybe that makes sense for me. I want to make sure that people whose lease is expiring, I want to get to them before their lease expires. A lot of times in new lead campaigns, I'll have this flipped. I actually want last in, first out sometimes for my lead campaigns. Last in, first out means freshest leads first. So freshest records on top. I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and I want to look at these records by attempt. So this is where I would have you start. First place to look, I want to look at how old these leads are in each attempt. And that's an indication to me of whether or not my team is actually getting to these phone calls. So I'm going to search right now. I'm filtered for customers who I haven't called at all yet. Some of these leads, hopefully it's obvious this is a demo account. So hopefully no one is logging in and seeing leads that haven't been called in almost a year. But if you are, that's an indication that your team is not getting to those leads. So when I look here and I'm seeing customers that were enrolled in September of 2023, these leads have been sitting here for quite a long time. That means that my team is not getting to these calls. If I wanted to look further out, I could look at all of the leads that are on their second attempt. So customers who I've attempted at least once, and see what the age is of those leads. If you are finding that on your further out attempts, the records are older and older, that means that your team isn't getting to those further out attempts. Your leads are aging out in those older attempts. My recommendation there is switch some of those attempts to an email. Emails can happen automatically. Switch them to a text message. The text messages can happen automatically. Your team doesn't have to put forth the effort of a phone call, but you can still touch that customer. If it's a lower priority campaign, if it's a further out in your cadence attempt, and you come to this screen and you see that your leads are aging out in those older attempts, recommendation there is switch them to an email. Do a lower effort method of communication. That way you're still touching those customers, but your team can focus really on the calls that are most important to you.
Yeah, that's a great tip. You definitely want to make sure that you're touching everyone, even if it's in an email or a text. So, awesome, Liza. Any closing thoughts here?
I don't think none on this one. Grab us if you have questions, as always. I know most people are familiar with campaign attempt management, but hopefully this is a new way of looking at it. It's kind of giving you one more thing to dig into on this screen. But if you have any questions or if you want a second set of eyes, just let us know. We're happy to help.
Awesome. Yep. Always reach out to your Volley rep if you have any questions or need help with anything. And as always, thanks and have a fantastic day.